Hi loves, today's tutorial is going to be on how to cut and sew this beautiful kaftan with build-up collar and beautiful design in front. It's very simple, so if this is what you're interested in learning, keep on watching. Let's get started. So I have 2 yards of ankara print on top of the table, and the plain fabric is a crepe. You can actually make use of any type of plain fabric of your choice, but I'm making use of a crepe. Okay, so remember, this is 2 yards. We are going to be folding the front and the back together at once because the back doesn't come with a zipper allowance. So first of all, I'm going to have to fold into 2. So as you can see on the table, I've folded into 2. Now once I'm done with that, I'm going to fold again, making it into 4 folds. Now from the top of my folded fabric, I'm going to mark down to about half or 1 inch, which is going to serve as my starting points or the shoulder points. If you have been following my tutorial, you already know what this line is. Okay, so now I'm going to place my tape on this shoulder point and then mark down to the bust point of 11 inches. Still leaving my tape right there, I'm going to mark down to the waist point, 17 inches. And then I'm going to mark down to the length of my gown. Okay, for this particular tutorial, I'm making use of length 35 inches, and then I'm going to add up 2 inches for folding allowance. Now after this, I'm going back to the starting point, which is the shoulder line, and I'm going to mark out my neck width. So for the neck width of the front, I'll be making use of 4 inches. Now after that, I'm going to have to, from the center fold, divide my shoulder measurement into 2. My shoulder measurement is 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. Okay, now because this is a cut together with the sleeve, I'm going to, from this shoulder points, okay, mark out the length of my sleeve. If you want to measure that, go ahead and place your tape on the nape of your shoulder, middle of your neckline, and then take it down to wherever you want your sleeve to be. Okay, I went ahead to add up 1 inch for folding allowance of the sleeve, and then went down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Now I went ahead to connect it to my shoulder points. Okay, just as you can see me doing like this. And after that, I'm going to go ahead and mark out my sleeve opening. Okay, so for the sleeve opening, I made use of 10 inches from the shoulder slope line. Now I went ahead to connect this, and then I'm going to first of all mark out my neck depth for the back. Okay, remember, for the neck width for both front and back is going to be the same thing, 4 inches, but for the depths it's going to be 1.5 inches for the back, and then for the front neckline I'm going to be making use of 8 inches. So from the shoulder points I went down to 8 inches, and from the center fronts I'm going to come in by half an inch, just like this, and then connect it to the neck width. Okay, so by the time I open this up, I'm going to be having 1 inch right there. I hope you guys understand. Now I'm going to move over to the bust point and then divide my bust circumference by 4 and mark it out. Now because this is a free gown, it is a kaftan and you want it to be free, I'm going to add up 1 inch for ease allowance, and then I'll add 1 inch for my sewing allowance. Now I'll move down to the waistline and then divide my waist circumference by 4, mark it down, and then add 1 inch for ease and then 1 inch for sewing allowance. Now I'm going to connect these points together, and next I'm going to, from the bust, come down by 2 inches so that I'll connect it back to my sleeve opening, okay, which is the depth of my sleeve. Now you're doing this because you don't want a form of sharp curve around the underarm. Okay, so by the time you sew this, it's going to stay flat. Now I just remembered I haven't marked out my hip points, so from my shoulder point I'm going to take it down to 25 inches, which is my hip point, and on this hip point line I'm going to divide my hip circumference by 4, mark it down, and add 1 inch for ease allowance and 1 inch for sewing allowance, and then connected it back to the waist points. So whatever it is I have on my hip, I'm going to take it down to the length, just as you can see me doing like this. So I took it down to the length just like this and connected it back to the hip. Okay, so I'm going to add up 1/2 inch for my shoulder sewing allowance. So as you can see, I've added that and I'm trying to connect it together. Now after this, we are now going to go ahead and cut. To cut this out, I'm going to start from my back neck depth, okay? And then from there, I'm going to enter into the shoulder sewing allowance. And then from there, I'm going to cut through to the sleeve opening and then cut off the rest of my body measurements. As you can see, it is quite very easy, you guys. You just have to pay good attention to how I'm doing this. And you guys, I just realized that this might be very short, so I decided to add up extra 2 inches. So this means that what I have right here is 39 inches length. Okay, so now I'm going to take off one of these, which is the back. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut off my front neckline. Now I'm done cutting it out. I'm now going to open up the front so you can see. So can you see? Right now I have about 1 inch on the depth of my sleeve. This sleeve looks like a big neckline with this form of opening right at the depth. Okay, so yeah, that is it. Now I'm going to bring back the back and we are going to have to join the shoulders together. So what I'm going to do is place the right sides of both the front and the back facing each other, and I'll go and stitch up the shoulder using 1/2 inch. Once I'm done stitching up the shoulder sewing allowance, I'm going to bring it back to the table so that we can work on the neck design. So I am done with that, and this is it. I've equally gone ahead to weave the rough edges of the shoulder. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and open it up like this, and I'm going to measure the neckline. So I'm going to start from the depths and then take it round to the back and then equally come over to the front again, just like this. Now after I was done, I had about 26 inches right there. So the round neck measurement is 26 inches. Now I'm going to use that to cut out a strap, okay, which is going to be in length 26 inches. And then for the width, I made it 2.5 inches on folds, which means that once I open this up, I'm going to be having 5 inches. I also went ahead to use hairstay to reinforce it, to make it a little bit firm, okay, because crepe is very light. We have all these crepe that are light, and the one I'm using is very light. Okay, now guys, note that the length of strap I'm supposed to cut out is 26 inches, but I made it more than that. Once I am done stitching this into the neck of my gown, I'm going to cut off the excess. I'm going to go ahead and run a tiny stitch on the part of the strap that is open just to secure it. I am done doing that, and I'm going to go ahead and pin the strap all around the neckline of my gown. So now to do that, I'm going to ensure that 1/2 inch of this strap comes out just before the depth of my neckline, okay, so that I'll be able to overlap the both side of the strap on my fabric. I hope you guys understand, but as we go on with this towards the end of the pinning, you're going to understand why I did that. Okay, so I am done pinning that, and I'm going to cut off the excess and then go run a stitch using 1/2 inch. After that, I went ahead to weave the rough edges. Okay, now this is why I came out by this 1/2 inch, you can see, so that will enable me overlap the both strap together. You can see what I just did right there, and after overlapping it, I will use hemming tape to hold it down on my fabric. So guys, once I'm done with that, I'm going to cut out a squared fabric. This is what I have on top of the table. I did that off camera. The length of this squared fabric is 13 inches and the width is equally 13 inches. I went ahead to iron in paper gum into the back to make it firm. Like I explained, the crepe I'm using is very light. Okay, now next thing I'm going to do to give it a little bit of design, choose any design of your choice. It all depends on what you want. Is to go ahead and fold in some parts of the down parts, as you can see me doing like this, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it off, leaving half an inch, okay, which I'm going to fold in with a hemming gum. So now I'm going to bring in my hemming gum. I've cut it into tiny pieces. I'm going to be folding it in like this using half an inch, and then I'll give it a good press. So guys, I am done with that, and this is the design that I have right there. So next thing I'm going to do now is go ahead and overlap this and then place the squared design on top of it. Can you see? So remember, like I said, you can actually overlap that and use your hemming gum to hold it in place. Now what I'm going to do to locate the middle is to fold it into two, locate the middle of my squared fabric, and then equally locate the middle of my neckline. Okay, so I'm going to match the two together and then use my pins to hold it in place. If you don't want to make use of your pins, you can go ahead and make use of a hemming gum. Just place it underneath or all around the edges of the squared fabric and then give it a good press. Now move over to your sewing machine and run a stitch all around it. Okay, so guys, I am done with that, and you can see the beautiful design that we have right here. Know that this is not the only design that you are limited to. You can actually create any type of design that you want for this. Okay, so I went ahead to also hem the sleeve opening, and next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and stitch the side seam using 1 inch. After that, I'm equally going to hem the down part of my gown, and then I will go ahead and show you guys the final look of this. So here is what we have. We are done with this gown. If you find this tutorial helpful, guys, please do it to give it a thumbs up, share this video so that more people can get to see it, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed yet. I will see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye.